guys, how's it going? It's Blepnir here with another team review, and today we're going to be looking over Shadow DRIFBLIM in the Hisui Cup. Now, Shadow DRIFBLIM has access to the newly improved move Astonish, which is now a pretty hard-hitting fast move with Shadow typing. It has about the same damage per turn as Lick, which is pretty hard hitting. It feels kind of like a shadow version of Charm. Obviously, it doesn't quite do as much damage as Charm, and it charges energy a little bit faster. But DRIFBLIM has access to two excellent coverage charge moves in Icy Wind and Mystical Fire. And now both these moves have the ability to debuff the opponent's attack. And the combination of the super hard-hitting fast move, the shadow damage bonus that Shadow DRIFBLIM receives as opposed to regular DRIFBLIM, and the debuffing ability of those two charge moves, which aren't too expensive to get to, makes Shadow DRIFBLIM an incredible threat in the Hisui Cup, and I think in the Great League in general, in the Ultra League as well perhaps, but the Hisui Cup was a great opportunity to try it out. The Mystical Fire does very well versus Frostlass, which I encountered quite often in this meta. The Icy Wind does quite well into Gliscor, and just in general, having the coverage of Ghost, Fire, and Ice all in one Pokemon that hits very hard proved to be extremely nice in this meta. And what's more, we managed to land a ton of Earthquakes with our Licky Licky, and that was very satisfying. So in general, these battles were very fun to do, and I hope you guys enjoy. So first off, we have our Hisui Electrode paired against Probopass, and this is a pretty good lead matchup. They are going to switch out immediately to Frostlass. Unfortunately, we weren't able to switch out very quickly. It probably would have wanted to switch out into the Licky Licky, even though that's not a great matchup because we don't have access to Shadow Ball. I would want to switch out immediately just because now that they have a huge energy advantage, this is not that great of a matchup. But at least we get a shield. So because we got a shield, my strategy now is actually going to be to double shield and farm them all the way down. I'm not sure how well that's going to do, but we'll see. You know, if they switch into Frostlass, I don't really have an option except for to switch into the Licky Licky because of the fact that the Frostlass would just outpace the DRIFBLIM to its charge moves. Powder Snow being a little bit faster energy generating than the Astonish. But we managed to farm down. We're down a shield. And then I throw the Earthquake. And the reason why I included this battle in here is we're going to see how much this Earthquake does versus the Probopass. Boom! That's so much damage into a very high bulk Pokemon. But I make a huge mistake here. And the mistake that I make is that I actually, I should have just switched into the DRIFBLIM right after throwing the charge move. Because I switched out after throwing my charge move, unfortunately, we CMP tie with this Toxicroak. The Toxicroak is going to throw the Shadow Ball, which takes us out, and we just don't have a win con at this point because of the fact that the Toxicroak has a shield. They're just going to be able to sweep us. If we had switched out and farmed down the Probopass, or at least got a slight energy advantage over the Toxicroak, we would have beaten the Toxicroak to a move, but that is a good game. I just wanted to include that because of the huge damage of the Earthquake onto the Probopass. But moving on, we see a DRIFBLIM on the lead, and DRIFBLIM is an incredibly common lead in this meta, and the Hisuian Electrode just does so well here. and we are able to just throw this wild charge into the Toxicroak. Yeah, it is debuffed, but it still does huge damage. And here, this was one of my first battles, and I didn't realize that we actually can't Astonish down the Toxicroak before they reach a move, unfortunately. So we do just take this Shadow Ball here. Boom! The Shadow Ball takes us out, and that's very unfortunate because that's all that energy gone, all that health gone. It's not looking great, but at least we get rid of the Toxicroak, right? And so now we're going to see that they have Sneasler in the back. Sneasler has a pretty negative matchup versus Licky Licky, even especially when we have a slight energy advantage. They're not doing any damage with this fast move, and we're gonna shield up this Aerial Ace here. Of course, they're gonna bait. There's no reason to go for the close combat because we're definitely gonna shield. They do catch the Body Slam on the DRIFBLIM, but this is okay. We are gonna switch into our Hisui Electrode here, I think, at some point. Yeah, we farm up here, and we are just going to keep farming up. I think that we throw a Body Slam eventually, actually. You see there, the Icy Wind just does nothing versus our Licky Licky. So we're good. We were in a good spot as soon as we got rid of the Toxicroak. Yeah, so we just catch the move onto our Hisui Electrode, which I think is the best usage of Hisui Electrode here. Luckily, they do take us out with that Icy Wind, which allows us to farm them down. And at this point, this game is a win because we are able to make it to 3 Body Slams before they make it to 2 more Aerial Aces. I don't think an Aerial Ace would even be quite enough to take us out because we're so bulky. But you see here that we're actually just going to give them the win. This is our good friend Feebas XL, one of the OG Pokemon Go folks that I met on the Twitter space. So of course they're still aiming for Legend. So if they were already Legend, we would have taken them out here. But we just decided to give them the win, which I do from time to time. Once again, guys, if I face you and I don't top left to you and you're still trying to hit Legend, then just reach out to me on some social media and I'll remember your name. I'll give you the win next time, I promise. As long as I've hit Legend and you're still aiming to hit Legend. So moving on, we see another DRIFBLIM lead. This is probably the most common lead that I saw in the meta. With good reason, it has great coverage with Icy Wind and just hits very hard in general. Mystical Fire is another great move. Maybe they have Mystical Fire and Icy Wind. But yeah, so they throw the Mystical Fire, they dip out, but this is great for me. Hisui and Electrode does quite well versus the DRIFBLIM leads. We switch into our own DRIFBLIM, and this time around, we are going to shield up the Shadow Ball. We learned our lesson because we can shield up the Shadow Ball. We can do 4 Astonishes before they reach their next Shadow Ball. But we're just going to do 3 just to be safe in case I miscounted. Because if I miscounted by 1, then we could CMP tie if I did 4. And so that's the safest play. And they have the Empoleon as their 3rd Pokemon. This should be perfectly fine because we're able to debuff with that Mystical Fire. And this is why Mystical Fire is so great. Is the coverage against stuff like Empoleon, which you'll see often in the meta. And because we showed Icy Wind first, they did expect me to throw Icy Wind there, and we were able to get off the Mystical Fire. And they do shield up the Icy Wind now. I threw the Icy Wind there because I was kind of worried that they come back in with DRIFBLIM. So that was kind of a dumb play on my part, but I was just banking on the fact that they would either catch on DRIFBLIM or shield up the move there, and that paid off because now we get to come in with our Licky Licky. We have the Licky Licky paired with the DRIFBLIM, and this should just be good game because of the fact that Licky Licky can easily tank 3 of these Icy Winds, and the fast move does no damage. Licky Licky's such a great Pokemon in this meta, so thick. Yeah, we're just going to keep tanking these moves. This is such a dominating matchup, even without Shadow Ball. It's really nice. We're able to farm them down, and then we get to the Earthquake. Not even necessary to throw the Earthquake versus the Empoleon, but you know that we love throwing the coverage move whenever we can. Boom! Earthquake hits the Empoleon, and that is a good game. Mystical Fire really coming in clutch that game. It's fun to have an Ice type charge move and a Fire type charge move, kind of like with Hypno, you know, with Fire Punch and Ice Punch. You can kind of play mind games with your opponent by throwing a different charge move than they expect. Like you throw Ice Punch and they think maybe you don't have Fire Punch. Similarly, you can throw an Icy Wind on DRIFBLIM and then they think maybe you don't have Mystical Fire. But moving on, we have the Empoleon in the lead. They switch out to Cresselia. I don't switch out very quickly, and so I just decided to throw the Wild Charge. If you switch out quickly enough there, you can really go into either the Licky Licky or the DRIFBLIM, but because they got that energy advantage, I figured I may as well just get the energy onto the damage of the Wild Charge onto the Cresselia. Because what this is going to allow us to do is, I thought that it would actually let us to farm down, but it actually didn't. We have to throw our charge move, unfortunately, but I thought that we could farm down there. Slight misplay on my part, but we still have so much energy here that we're going to easily reach this Earthquake. So this is the great thing about farming up with Licky Licky in the secondary matchup is, boom, we're able to do so much damage with that Earthquake, as opposed to if we had come in with the DRIFBLIM versus the Cresselia. You see that they just top left there, so that's really satisfying. If I came into the DRIFBLIM against the Cresselia, we would not have been able to almost take them out with that Earthquake there. And let's see what happens in this next game. So next up, we have Charlie Rings. We have Hisuian Electrode into Empoleon. Another fantastic lead. It's been all Empoleons and DRIFBLIMs in the lead today, folks, I'm telling you. And so we have a Toxicroak safe swap. So once again, because I wasn't able to switch out very quickly, I do just throw my move. If I'm late on the switch out into DRIFBLIM, the problem is that they would be able to beat me to my Shadow, to my Icy Wind or Mystical Fire with their own Shadow Ball, right? So we don't want that to happen. We want to take a shield instead with the Wild Charge, and then we're able to shield up the Shadow Ball. We're able to overfarm a bit and then throw the Icy Wind, and we still have a lot of energy, a lot of health and a lot of energy on the DRIFBLIM. So we're able to debuff this Empoleon on the secondary matchup. This is why DRIFBLIM is just so incredibly strong, is because if it's able to get a bunch of energy in the secondary matchup, it can just debuff whatever comes in. It's really satisfying. It's really fun to have a heavy, fast move pressure ghost type like DRIFBLIM in the meta. It really does not exist that much in the meta, besides like lick users such as the Houndstone. Houndstone is a good example of a very heavy, fast move pressure ghost type, but Houndstone isn't allowed in the Hisui Cup, so it was very fun to use this unique role in the Hisui Cup. And so now you see that they come in with the Hisui Electrode, and we let them throw the Wild Charge first, just so that they debuff themselves, and they have to shield this up. And this is completely safe for us, because no matter what they do, we are always going to be able to just sweep in the back with our Licky Licky here. We have a shield. So this should be pretty safe. Yeah, and we are expecting them to go into the Empoleon. Honestly, a Body Slam would be pretty much enough damage anyway. But no need to go for the Body Slam when we can reach an Earthquake and a Body Slam instead. Much more satisfying here. And once again, Licky Licky is able to sweep for us. Boom! That's a good game. Next up, we have Hisui and Electrode versus Gastrodon. It's a pretty neutral matchup here. It's kind of an interesting matchup where we would be able to one-shot them with Energy Ball, but we're doing no damage with our fast move, whereas they're doing huge damage with Mud Slap and they can hit for some good damage with their charge moves as well. So really, it's a pretty neutral matchup that they actually can win as long as they're willing to give up shields. And that's why we actually bait. We bait with the Wild Charge because we know that they're going to shield. We go into the Licky Licky expecting the Bite Drapion to come in. This is a super common team in this meta, same as it was in the Sinnoh meta. Nothing's really changed because both in the Sinnoh meta and this meta, you're seeing a lot of Bite users, Bite Shadow Poison types. But you see there that we're able to land that Earthquake for huge damage because I expect them to have double Dark Poison in the back. So of course they're not going to just give up a shield on their first Dark Poison type when they have two. So we're able to get that off. And so we switch into our Hisui Electrode into the Skuntank. And we're looking pretty good here. You see I actually waited a turn because I was expecting them to switch out into their Gastrodon. They do not switch out. They do switch out now, and this is perfect because we're able to throw this Wild Charge. Actually, we did not want to throw the Energy Ball there, even if we could have gotten to the Energy Ball, because we need this farm down, and Gastrodon can't hit us for any threatening damage. We have 2 shields as well, so we're going to use 1 shield on the Body Slam here, and I know that the Skuntank is going to get to a crunch, so we're definitely not going to use the second shield. Even if this was an Aqua Jet here, it would not do enough damage to really threaten us. Body Slam obviously doing double resisted damage, as would Earth Power. But now we should be okay. They are going to reach the crunch here, but that's not going to be enough to take us out. You see here, these Icy Winds do so much damage because of our shadow damage bonus. That we are just going to be able to take them out after shielding up this crunch, and that is a good game. This is how this team is supposed to function, is that it can just debuff the opponent to hell in the back and also throw those hard-hitting charge moves as well. So another DRIFBLIM in the lead here. This is another great lead. They go immediately into Lucario, and we are just going to do the same thing that we do with the Toxicroak leads, where we throw the Wild Charge first and then go into our DRIFBLIM, because we can safely take out the Lucario at this point in any shielding scenario. Even if they bait here, they can bait with a Power-Up Punch, as you see that they do, but all that means is that we can't farm up quite as much. We could have done another Astonish, but we are just going to throw the Mystical Fire. We could have probably undercharged the Mystical Fire and gotten off another fast move, but that's okay. We just wanted to take out the Lucario there and win that secondary matchup. And so now they come back in with DRIFBLIM, and we're going to actually go into Licky Licky here because we want to absorb all this energy. Like we said, but like we saw before, Licky Licky can take 3 Icy Winds or Mystical Fires from the DRIFBLIM. So this should be a pretty good matchup for the Licky Licky just in fast moves alone. And then they come in with Toxicroak. This is fantastic because there's no chance that the Toxicroak is going to shield up this Earthquake. Boom! That's so much damage. Think about it, guys. They're just not going to shield up because of the fact that the Wild Charge does so much more damage to the Toxicroak than a Body Slam or a Shadow Ball, which they're expecting from the Licky Licky, right? And also, obviously, the DRIFBLIM will be taken out by the Wild Charge. It was a very safe Earthquake there. That's why you go for the Earthquake instead of the Body Slam there. Moving on, we have the Gallade in the lead. That's a pretty good lead for us because we're able to force a shield. We do shield up versus this incoming Leaf Blade. They do bait with the Leaf Blade. They could have thrown the close combat there. That's fine. Leaf Blade would do a ton of damage anyway. But the thing is, even if they double bait with Leaf Blade here, they're still not going to reach a close combat. You're going to see they're going to throw the next Leaf Blade right here. And then I know for a fact that I can take them out before they do 3 more confusions, which means that they're just going to make it to another Leaf Blade. And we are going to easily take this Leaf Blade. It's not even a Shadow Glade, so it doesn't do too much. And then they come into Sneasler, and this is so perfect. This is what it's all about, guys. The Earthquake coming in hot against the Sneasler. They have no more shields. Boom! The Shadow Sneasler goes down. That's really satisfying, but it's not over yet because they have a Frostlass in the back. They do have to throw their move pretty much immediately. Maybe they could have done one more Powder Snow in order to CMP tie us, but I do think that Hisuian Electrode actually wins CMP over Frostlass. At least my Hisuian Electrode, which is pretty attack weighted, wins CMP over Frostlass. So that is showing the power of the Hisuian Electrode, that we are just able to sweep there in the back. The Frostlass was never going to be able to get to another move there unless they farmed up more versus the DRIFBLIM, but if they did so, they would have gotten hit with a Mystical Fire. And so next up, we have the Gastrodon in the lead. They switch immediately into Glade, which is perfectly fine with me. Obviously, they're going to shield up there. And so now we go into our DRIFBLIM. This is too early to be a Synchronoise. So if you wanted to throw Synchronoise, you had to throw one more Confusion against me. We know that we can no shield up the Leaf Blade, so we let that go, and we're able to farm them down. If they did farm up to the Synchronoise, we would have had to shield that up, but now we're in a great spot because we farmed that Glade all the way down. They have a shield disadvantage, and we're able to land that Icy Wind, which means that they are not going to be able to reach another, to farm me down before I reach another Icy Wind. And once again, DRIFBLIM being such a strong Pokemon in the secondary matchup, double debuffing the Gastrodon. This is something that I did a lot, is that I don't even bother going into the Hisuian Electrode. I just go straight into my Licky, and then we see the Empoleon in the back. So they were super weak to the Hisuian Electrode. I don't know how they were expecting to get rid of that Hisuian Electrode there, but this is a complete good game. They're going to let this Earthquake go. They have no choice because our Hisuian Electrode would be able to just deal so much more damage with its charge moves anyway. Then like a Wild Charge would hit even harder than an Earthquake against that Empoleon. And so that's just Earthquake coming in clutch once again. We're able to sweep the back line with the Hisuian Electrode. No need to mess around with Energy Ball when Wild Charge hits so hard. Boom! Wild Charge does more than enough damage there. Wild Charge does like 30%, 35% of the Gastrodon's health. So that is enough to take that game. And yeah, so that's just showing how handy the Shadow DRIFBLIM can be with the high damage fast move and the debuffing coverage charge moves there. It feels kind of like a ghost type version of Wigglytuff, which is kind of fun, you know. Like Wigglytuff is a very easy to use Pokemon that does a lot of fast move pressure and debuffs with Icy Wind. So too is Shadow DRIFBLIM that same way, except for that it hits even harder and it has more coverage with that fire type move. So guys, what do you think about Astonish double debuffing charge move Shadow DRIFBLIM? Are you guys going to use it? Are you guys going to try and counter it in some way? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you've been using, what's been working for you, in the Hisui Cup and in the Open Great League in general. And I'll see you guys next time.